Well, hello, friend, and welcome back to the episode. Oh, today we are going to be talking about when you're ready to see myofunctional therapy clients, okay? And how to get started before you feel ready. And the impetus for this episode came from coaching recently, which I do every month with my students. And one of the students commented that she was really having a hard time jumping in because she didn't know what the full system looked like. So she told me that she was really somebody who likes to see the full system, the whole enchilada, if you will. And she just felt like that was what was holding her back. And really my answer to her was that there will never be an exact system that you're going to take every client through, because every client is going to be different. And if there is one thing that you can know with certainty, excuse me, in your business, is that there's going to be uncertainty. Okay. No, or very few, I should say, very few of my tons of clients have ever had a linear journey, meaning we started therapy, we prepared, 2 sessions for the tongue tie release, and then they had it done and it was beautiful. And then we did the full rehab after, and they went from A to Z in a complete straight line. So that rarely happens, especially in my practice, because I work with some of the world's worst, I would say. So there's not going to be a perfect template, if you will, because everybody is going to be different. So the important thing is just getting started. So what this looked like for me when I was starting my business about a decade ago is so let me back up. So I teach in my programs, kind of the structure that we follow is a free assessment. I know there's some programs out there that tell you not to do a free assessment. I would argue that that is a growth lever that is worth pulling on, because what happens, yes, absolutely, what you do is valuable and your time is valuable, but you're asking somebody to jump into paying for an exam when they might not know anything about myofunctional therapy. They don't know anything about you. They don't know if there's a personality match. They don't know if you can help them. There's a number of different things. And so by giving somebody that free whatever, for me, it was 30 minutes of your time, you build that know, like, and trust factor. And people still come back years later, having met me and did their free assessment, and now they're ready to move forward. So I know that there's some programs out there that don't recommend it. That's completely up to you. In my programs, I recommend it until you have a lot of business going on and you just really don't have the space for it. I did complimentary assessments for years before I stopped doing them. So in my programs, the structure looks like a free assessment, then you move on to the comprehensive exam. Everybody doesn't have to start with a free assessment. If they know that they are on a time crunch, or they're for whatever reason, they don't want to start there, then just bump them into an exam. That's totally fine too. Then they go from the exam into therapy. So what I found, and since in this conversation we're talking about being comfortable to get started, what I found was that I had to basically, I'll use the word perfect, but nothing is ever perfect. I would work on practicing that segment just for that appointment. So if I had somebody who booked a free assessment, I would prepare and practice for a free assessment. Then I would move that person into the comprehensive exam. So then I would prepare and practice for the comprehensive exam. So if you are, outside of your training, which if you're listening to this, I assume that you've had your training, you just don't know how to get started. That's how I recommend that you do it. And so for me, when I was getting to the therapy part with somebody, it wasn't that I knew all of the exercises and had them memorized and had them perfected, all of that stuff. I would prepare for the session at hand. Okay. So my first client, I prepared for session number 1. So when I saw her for session number 2, I literally was coming into therapy with 2 sticky notes. One had the names of the exercises that I was going to be working on, and the second one had the breakdown of the appointment. So I was going to spend 5 minutes on pleasantries, and I was going to spend 20 minutes on teaching, and then I was going to wrap up and send the email and all that stuff. So I literally went into every session with sticky notes telling me what to do. So I will tell you this, my friend, it is truly like riding a bike. Once you do that first session of therapy, then session number 1 is going to be very similar every time, okay? Every session isn't going to be the same, but they're going to be close enough and similar enough, especially if you study with me, because I teach you a framework. I give you my templates. You have all of that information. So there's not a lot that changes. Yes, things about your client are going to change, but there's also what I call the skeleton. There's a certain order that you're going to teach all exercises. It doesn't matter if it's Susie or Stephen. Okay, they're all going to learn exercises in a certain order. Some are going to have a harder time with certain exercises. Some are going to be easier. You might have to bring in and customize it with other exercises. That's completely to be expected, but you're still not going to teach exercise Z when you haven't taught exercise D. Essentially, okay? So that's what the process looked like for me when I was getting started. It was like, just get that first one. So let's talk about 3 things that you can do to get started, okay? If you're questioning, if you're ready to start, if you're all of that, this is going to help you, okay? So 3 things that you can do to get started before you feel ready. So number 1, let's just talk about it. The imposter syndrome. Know that it's going to show up. It showed up for me. It showed up for every practicing therapist, okay? It's going to show up. What matters is that you receive it. Like, oh, you identify it. Yeah, I know you're here. Get in the back seat. You don't get to control the thermometer. You don't get to control the radio station. You don't get to roll the windows down. None of that stuff. Know that it's going to show up. You're absolutely going to have moments where you just feel like, who the hell am I to be doing this? I only took my training 2 months ago. You guys remember, I had my first paying client 12 weeks in, and I've had exactly 1 person out of thousands ask me my expertise level, my experience, all of that stuff. So if they have questions about that, that's okay. They can ask their questions. And if they don't want to work with you because you're a new therapist, that's okay too. The lady who asked me about my training, I also told her, yeah, I'm just starting out. And that's why you're getting a discount of about paying 25% of what my normal rate will be. So just know, imposter syndrome is going to show up. A decade in, it still shows up for me periodically, especially if people come to me from other therapists, because you're just curious of like why things went wrong or why that therapist wasn't able to help you. So I always just get this little tinge of like, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to be the person that gets paid and isn't able to help somebody. So that's number 1. Know that imposter syndrome is going to show up. Guaranteed, my friend. Number 2, understand that you are trying to build what I like to call your prototype. So you're just getting started. So if you're wondering, am I ready to see clients? Yes, because if you feel confident in your clinical skills and you had a decent training and you're not just going out there willy-nilly being a terrible practitioner, then the first thing you need to do is build your prototype. And this is the thing that you're after the fastest. I want my students to get their first client as fast as possible. My shortest was 16 weeks, so that was just about a month longer than it took me. But the whole point is to get that done so you can see, okay, it takes work. What kind of work did it take? Where do I need improvements? What processes and systems do I need help with? Where are the weak links? The longer it takes you to get to that first client, the longer it takes you to get to that second, third, fourth, 10th, 20th, 100th client, okay? Each time that you get another client, you're dialing things in, you're figuring out your systems. I always tell my students, yes, I teach systems. That's what I teach, but yours aren't going to be perfect. You're always going to have some iterations for a while. And then, like in my practice, I bet you I haven't changed anything in my business for the last 3 to 5 years because I got it dialed in. Everything works. Everything's automated. It's hands off. I literally only need to show up to therapy. And that's exactly how I want it. So if it takes you 3 months to do a week's worth of work, it's going to take you a long time to build your prototype. Our program, Learn Myofunctional Therapy in 60 days or less, people are always so interested to know about the 60 days. And I always tell them, you can make the 60 days as long as you want. The program is created for you to get the material, take it in, learn it, and then implement it. So it's just that kind of like phase one. Phase two is the business building. Phase one is the clinical foundations and clinical learning. The fastest that you get to that first paying client, then you're going to be able to figure out what works, what doesn't work, what do I need to do differently? Okay, so get there. And the third thing that I want to talk about is to take ugly, imperfect action. So my friend, to get started, you have to put the car in drive. Myofunctional therapy is an implementation therapy. Okay, you've got to implement what you have learned. Don't sit on it for 6 months. Don't sit on it for a year. Most of you guys who are coming into my coaching program, it is an execution problem. Okay. You don't know what you're supposed to be doing, which is obviously why you end up in business coaching with me. But also, some of you are coaching with me and you're still not executing on what you're supposed to do. So you got to get the car moving before we could figure out, do we need it a little more to the right or a little bit more to the left? So I hope that's going to help you. Really, the biggest takeaway from this episode is to just get started. Expect that you're going to take ugly, imperfect action. Expect that you're going to have imposter syndrome show up. That's okay. You've not done anything wrong. It's totally normal. All right. If you need support with this, you have a few different ways you can get it. Number one, the most common is to just jump into a coaching program with me. The best way to do that is book your unstuck call. We're going to talk about where you're stuck. I'm going to learn about you, your business. We're going to get a plan together because coaching is a 6-month package with me. You're going to get information, actionable steps, strategy stuff that you can move forward on, knowing exactly what to do depending on what season of business you're in, where you're at, all of that stuff. So the best place to start is to book that unstuck call and we'll go from there. That is it, my friend. That's all I have for you today. Go do your homework, get started, and we'll be back soon to talk about all things starting, growing, and simplifying your myofunctional therapy business.